Let's talk the Atlanta Hawks. Let's talk the young guys. Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Okongwu, Zaccharie Risacher, and yeah, in the last show I did forget to tell you the other guy, Dyson Daniels. Let's talk about them all in their 24-25 NBA season. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I pity the fool who doesn't phone home. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms, so hit the thumb and the double bang, be an everydayer, and listen every day. Tomorrow, I hope, all things going well, I will be doing a redraft show. 2021 NBA Draft redraft. Tomorrow. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. Maybe. We'll see. National Fish and Chip Day is the day I'm recording this for the Atlanta Hawks, and this is more of the point of the better than you think. Because we talked about the older guys, and there was Trae Young, and then a bunch of like, yeah, that guy's hit the cliff. But I think we might be sort of moving into a newer era of the Hawks where it does become about a lot of these younger guys who I think there's quite a lot of excitement. Now, we need to temper some of that. We need to bring it down for some of them in particular. But I think it's an interesting time. So let's talk about this Atlanta Hawks team. Like we said, they do have pick 13 in this upcoming draft. They could really go any direction they wanted. Maybe it is a backup point guard. But I know that they've got their forward spot locked down. Whether he's a power forward or a small forward, he's a power forward, but it doesn't really matter. Jalen Johnson was a guy they took a swing on in pick 21 about 3 years ago. Barely played, had some injuries, had some issues in college as well, and now is absolutely dominating. He, I think, is going to have a realistic shot at being an all-star. Actually, maybe not, because they're changing the all-star format to USA versus the world, which, again, is stupid. I know that you will say that it worked in hockey and they had this. It worked in hockey because there were 4 countries that like played and were able to field strong teams. Like, why would someone who's not American get fired up? Yeah, go world. Yeah, I'm from the world. Let's go, world pride. You're not playing against Mars. Anyway, I just don't care about the All-Star game. I don't care to watch it. It doesn't mean anything to me in that respect. And constant tweaking of things, I understand what they're trying to do, but the idea of world versus USA is going to mean that there are going to be players that make the All-Star game that don't deserve to, because there are not enough All-Star caliber players that aren't from the US. It's going to mean we're going to have 5, 6, 7 US players who probably should have made it over Nik Vucevic getting 5 in a row at age 35 through 38. Like, that's what's going to end up happening. Jalen Johnson would have made the All-Star team if the Eastern Conference had have still been the way that they were doing that. He would have made it coming up, but yeah, maybe not anymore. Johnson had a breakout the year before. I thought should have won Most Improved. He broke out again this season and then got injured again. And this is the problem with Johnson, is the year before, he had 3 ankle injuries to end the season, plus that broken hand earlier on. This season, significant shoulder injury. He's had a lot of injuries. They're not ongoing, persistent, single body part problems. I'm not that worried about it. It's just annoying. And he's going to put together a 70-plus game season soon, and he's going to be amazing. He's 23. Like, bro, he's 4 years away from hitting his prime. He had only 23 usage. That can actually go to 25, 26, I think. He played 36 minutes a night. That's a lot. Will he always be that? Probably. For a while anyway. He only played 36 games, though. 22nd ranked player. 19th in points leagues. Didn't play after the trade deadline, so we didn't get to see him without DeAndre Hunter there. But I actually don't think it matters. I don't think that anything matters with him. The only thing will be just a little bit more confidence in his shooting, because he shot 31% from 3. Pull that to 36, and you are talking top 15. Now, this will not happen. This will not happen. He will not get drafted close to the turn, first, second round. He won't get drafted there. I think it will make sense to draft him there. I won't, and I don't think that I'll end up ranking him there. But he averaged 19 and 10, 5 assists, 1.6 steals, 1 block, 50 and 75. Let's turn 23 usage to 25. Let's turn 31 from 3 into 34. If you turn 75 from the line to 77, these are such small things. 3% on threes, 2% on free throws, 2% usage. You're talking 20, 10, 1.6 threes, 5 assists, steals, blocks, they're all there. That's a top 15 player. You're going to be scared off by the games played. You're going to be scared off because he never did it. I'm not going to draft Jalen Johnson at pick 13. But I think he's going to be there. And I think that if in the end, if you took him there, it will work out. So, it might be. Probably not, depending on your league. If you are in a dynasty format, I actually think that given the fact that he's had the injuries the last 2 years, especially this one again, the shooting dropped off, you might want to, it's the smallest. It's the smallest window. You might have a buy low here. You might. Now, I don't know where he's going in dynasty startups, but I'm going to suggest it's not top 10. I'm going to suggest it's maybe not top 15. Maybe I'll talk to Matt Lawson about that. I am pretty bullish on him. I was, sort of just dipped the tip in a couple of years ago, say, I like what Johnson's doing, and I hated they didn't start him because, Sadiq Bey existed, which was insane. I hated they didn't start him, but I was, okay, they should try this, but I wasn't as all in as I needed to be. And then he went obviously crazy. And he has just got this ability to just hit every area. And I think he's going to develop into a legit star. And I think it's happening this season. So, all these numbers, you can see them on the screen. I'm in. I'm less in here. Because, for this very specific reason. Love you, Dyson. Dyson Daniels, Australian legend. Best Aussie in the NBA, I think. I can't really think who else it would be. It's not Dwop Reith. Pretty sure it's him. I'm not going to count Kyrie. I was, again, very much in on drafting Dyson Daniels in this year. You got to draft him in those round 10, 11, 12. Pick him up and let's see what happens. For a million years, I did not think that we would get what we got. I cashed in on him winning most improved player. Huge W for me on that. I placed very few NBA bets. Maybe 2 or 3 a year. And I cashed in on that one. Loved it. But you have to be incredibly careful here. He's obviously 98th percentile on deflections. He averaged 3 steals a game. He averaged 6 rebounds and 4.5 assists, all solid. You'll notice in the pre- and post-trade deadline rankings, 51st, 30th, post. What happened post-trade deadline? Jalen Johnson wasn't there. So just be aware of that. I'm not saying that he's a Jalen Johnson absence merchant, because that's not true. Because the steals don't really have anything to do with that. But one thing we do know, that has been proven out year over year over year over year over year, is that the top of the steals table, almost invariably, that person drops back. Now, it's very easy to say, and I actually do agree with this to an extent. I'm going to spend some time on Dyson here, is that he's an outlier. We haven't seen someone with 3 steals a game since, is it Alvin Robertson in the 80s, who did it 3 years in a row? We've seen 2.7s and 2.8s maybe, or 2.6s, and then that person goes to 2 or 1.8. And while it doesn't seem like much, we know the low volume variance and how it impacts things. Dyson is putting up numbers at a ridiculous level. But I will say this. Dyson averaging 3 steals a game, that's great. We can say, well, he's an outlier. He did that. Why didn't he do it the year before? All right? Why didn't he do it the year before? And if your answer to that is, because he was blocked and he played limited minutes for New Orleans, all right? That's what I mean. His steal percentage, which is playing time independent, went from 3 to 4.1. It went from 1.9 as a rookie to 3 as a second-year player to 4.1 as a third-year player. His block rate went from 1 to 1.8 to 2. Right? The blocking was really impressive. So, because he did this for a whole season, Dyson Daniels, and averaged 3 blocks a game, and went to 4.1, why is it impossible to suggest or to expect that his steal rate goes to 3.5, that his steal rate goes to 3.3, and he's a 2.6 steals guy, and still beats everybody by a million miles. Is that possible? Is it possible that teams are super focused on not allowing him to rip the ball away? Again, if you go from 3 to 2.5, it's half a steal. Which is not much, which over a week of 4 games, it's 2 fewer steals. That's all it is. And his fantasy value is built on steals. The other thing with Dyson I want to talk about, he shot 34 from 3, but he shot 59 from the line, my guy. That stinks. 49 from the field, all good. 4.5 assists, pretty good. 6 rebounds, pretty good. But 19 usage, 1 3, 14 points. He was great. Look at Darko's Delta, 59th percentile. They went, but the offense is still a real problem. And even defensively, he is not the best defensive player in the NBA. He is not the best perimeter defender in the NBA. He should not have won Defensive Player of the Year. I feel very strongly about that. He's good at getting steals, but that does not mean you're the best defender. And I know it feels like I'm hating on him, but I need to be... This is all coming to one point here. Because in Yahoo's end-of-season rankings, his total ranking is 7th. 7th. And you've heard me rail on the fact that those rankings exist, or that they get referenced, or that people think they mean anything. Because that is very, very clearly not an accurate representation of last season. 7th is ridiculous. It is insane to think that Dyson Daniels was the 7th best player in fantasy. It's just a ludicrous concept to get to. In no circumstance was he that. When he was below average in points, threes, terrible free throws, not good field goals. Rebounds, pretty good. Assists, pretty good. Steals, excellent. Blocks, average. That's not the 7th best player. It just isn't. And we are going to see, and I am incredibly interested to see what happens with this when the rankings come out for next season on Yahoo and the pre-ranks and the ADPs. Because even on a per-game basis, according to Yahoo's 9cat formula, he was 14th. Which again, ridiculous. Ridiculous to take someone at that spot. I ranked him 41st. I will not have Dyson Daniels on any team next season because I will not take him in round 1. And if you do, please, let me know how it goes. I will not take him in round 2. I could maybe be convinced to go into round 3. I don't know. I haven't done any projections, very obviously, because 100 new players are going to be on different teams in the league, and it's all going to be different, right? But he feels like an end of the 3rd, maybe a 4th round player. Probably a 4th round player is a better bet. Because if those 3 steals become 2.5, and then when you also take into consideration the flawed nature of the other way the rankings work, you're going to get burned, man. In one of the largest ways you've ever seen. It will not be pretty. And I love Dyson. I love the step forward he takes. I hate when a player that I like, who took steps forward, gets then over-indexed and overrated and over-positioned. And I do really fear for that. So, be very cautious. And when anyone has an outlier type season, if you're in a dynasty league, what's that phrase about tires and kicking them? You do that. You kick the tires and you see if anyone wants to be idiotic and give you something they shouldn't. We're going to come back and talk Okongwu. We're going to talk Risacher and the big fella himself, Don Barlow. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NBA playoffs, the NBA finals are in full swing. Game 1 is in the books, but I don't know who won because I'm recording this before it. So now, that means you can see all of these great plays, great performances, hopefully really tight matches, all through the playoffs, and FanDuel makes it easy for you to stay in the game as well, whether that's before tip-off or live during the game. They've got player props, of course, they've got the same game parlays, you have more ways than ever to play smart and to win big. If you know who's heating up, if you think you know who's heating up, well, back it up, same game parlay it. You might see something at halftime and go, yeah, that team's down big, but I think the second half's going to be great. Place that bet as well. And if you're new on FanDuel, well, a $200 bonus bet sounds pretty good. If you get that if your first $5 bet wins. So go to FanDuel. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, You get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Now, after saying all of that about Dyson, I don't want to harp on it too much. I need to sort of cleanse because, again, it feels like I'm being a hater. And I want to be incredibly clear here because people do misinterpret things that I say, and that's probably part of me not communicating clearly. So again, I think Dyson Daniels is a very good player. I think he's a very good defender. He's a useful fantasy player. I'm not suggesting that he shouldn't be in the rotation. I'm not suggesting that he shouldn't start. I'm not suggesting that he shouldn't be drafted. I'm just saying if you take him in round one, enjoy losing. The value that you were, or it is externally being ascribed to him, is fraudulent. Now, let's talk about a player where I'm a little bit more interested because do I feel vindicated? Not really. I don't really need to feel vindicated on this, but it is good when you see a player, you scout them through the draft, you see them play, and you go, I like this guy. And then you get annoyed and you go, why isn't he starting? And you know that they're not going to start him, and you knew that for 4 years in Onyeka Okongwu. And you were very cautious about how you drafted him, and my position on Okongwu was always the same. I believe he should be starting. I don't believe that the Hawks will start him until this year, where I thought they were going to start him. And they did. It just took us 3 months to get there. But I think now that we're there, we are in a situation where we're going to get at least a couple of interesting years. Look at the pre- and post-trade deadline Okongwu splits. 93rd, 45th. And when I say vindication, I don't think that Okongwu is an all-star level center. I never have. I don't think that he is a franchise game-changing player. Never have. I think that he's a good to very good center who, if he was given a starting role, would be an absolute fantasy beast. I would say that being the 79th ranked player in 28 minutes, being 45th post-trade deadline when you moved in that starting role, is getting close to beastly levels. He only averaged 13 points, but he had 9 rebounds. He had 1 steal and 1 block. He shot 57 and 76, including 32 from 3, and started taking more threes. In fact, he was up to over half a 3 made per game. Be very clear about this as well. Onyeka Okongwu is not as good in points leagues as he is in category leagues. You will notice that his Darko and his drip delta way up the top because, yeah, he actually did take steps forward, but we also saw him on the court more. He's not a usage guy. But 57th percentile passing volume should make you go, really? Because he's 14th percentile on ball. So he didn't have the ball in his hands, but he made smart decisions. And that's a great sign. I want more defensively. He is undersized, clearly. So he's never going to be bringing big Clint Capella block numbers. And his block rate is worse than Capella's. Pairing him with Jalen Johnson, does that alleviate that a little bit? Don't know. Now, while I am fluffing Okongwu up, and at the same time fluffing myself up, because who doesn't love a self-fluff? I'll bring you down a little bit, and myself down. Yeah, self-flagellation. Shout out Opus Dei. I don't think that the Hawks are going to sit here with Okongwu and go, bang, we're good, 6 years starting center. We're done, it's over, we don't need to change anything. I don't think that's the case. I think he's quite a good center. I think he's quite a good player. He's a smart offensive player. He's a smart defensive player. He's a smart passer. He's developing into a shooter. But I do worry about that rim protection stuff, the defensive presence part. I worry about it. And I worry that maybe we get 3 years of, let's say, to be conservative, top 60 production. 3 years of top 60 production. I think that's possible. I could also see, if he falls at pick 13, the Hawks taking Kaman Maluach or Thomas Sorba and grabbing a backup center that way. A rim-protecting backup center. Actually, Sorba would be a very interesting player here. So, while I love what Okongwu did, I love that he ramped his minutes up, I love that he scaled up, I love that we actually got to see why everybody in fantasy was excited about this, and it all paid off. I would also just, again, bring it down a little bit to suggest that this isn't now, here we go, 8 years, we've got a role here, and it's happening. I don't think that's the case. I like him. He provided exactly what we thought we would get out of him, even with a couple of little bonuses like the threes. And I'm still like, I don't know where we go. I don't know where the Hawks view it. will they settle on him? Because Trae Young, we know. If they trade him, I don't know. Be idiotic if they traded Trae Young, by the way, because nobody is valuing Trae Young the way that the Hawks want him to be valued, and honestly, the way he should be valued. They got Jalen Johnson, legit star player here. And then there's the other bits around it. Okongwu's good. I like him. We just have to be a little bit cautious, a little bit realistic. This isn't the floodgates. This isn't, we're off here. Off we go. I don't think it's that. Now, let's talk about Vit Krejci. A player that somehow feels like he's 30 years of age. He's not. Is he the best Czech player ever? Shout out Jan Vesely and Tomas Satoransky. I don't know. It's close. It's probably Vesely just for his European work. But Krejci is one of those guys that you love to have from a real-life perspective. Do you want him to play point guard? No worries. Do you want him to defend on the wing? Let's do it. Do you want me to hit some threes? I've got 44% in me this year. Okay, let's do that as well. Can you defend? You got size? Can you pass? Can you score? Can you shoot? Can you defend? Can you ramp up? Yeah, maybe not. 13 usage. Not good. 191st post-trade deadline. He's a point guard who's a point forward, who's a defensive guy, which you don't always get out of these. There's so many point forward European players that come across, and a lot of them are like, yeah, but he can't defend. Or yeah, he's not shooting Ben Saraf style. Or even Denny Avdia when he came across. But Krejci can shoot. Krejci can defend. He just doesn't have usage upside. He is a very useful fantasy player. He's a very useful real-life player. But the usefulness for him in fantasy comes if he pushes into a 30-minute role because he has to start because someone's not there. Now, I guess you could make an argument that on this team, that there is, he's their sixth man. Dyson, Zach, Jalen, Trae, Okongwu, and then Krejci's the sixth man, depending on what happens with LeVert. 27 minutes a night, 14-team league guy. He's about to turn 25. He's not quite there yet. He's a very interesting player. And this was his first real season as being a major part of a rotation. So I'm not going to get excited about him, but in the same way that we talked about LeVert in the show yesterday, I think that is the discussion we have with Krejci for the next couple of seasons. Where it's like, he's there. He's a lovely 16-team league guy. A solid 14-team league option, maybe 14. Probably more 16. Who then ramps up when he plays 30 minutes a night, and we use him, and we stream him, and then we drop him. He's less inconsistent. Yeah, he's less inconsistent than LeVert. But I think there is a really strong role here. And that brings us to the number 1 overall pick, Zachary Risacher, who was, to be brutally honest, as expected. And that's not a good thing. Risacher did not profile as a good fantasy player. We thought that as a number 1 overall pick, he might not even start the season as a starter. He did. But 25 minutes a night, he definitely didn't play as a starter's role. 21 usage, 12 points, 3 rebounds. That's all disgusting. 36 from 3, very encouraging. 71 from the line, yeah, less so. His Darko and Drip Delta a little bit in conflict. Darko had him 46th percentile. Drip 87th. Drip must have had him starting pretty low. Defensive stuff, nothing exciting. 33% on ball as the number 1 overall pick is incredibly low. I don't think he can ever turn into that point forward type of player where you're just going to load it up. He's going to pass. He's going to score. What is he? I think he's a number 1 overall pick 3-and-D player. And 3-and-D players are useful, without question. Probably not what you want to swing for at pick number 1, though. Not a high load player, 47th percentile, 22 usage. He played a lot. He averaged 21 fantasy points. Now, he had those huge games. The 35-point games, the 9 of 9 shooting games, but nearly every time there was a game where Risacher was mentioned, we got highlight reel biased. Because he'd come out and shoot 8 of 8, put up 35 points with 1 rebound, 0 assists, and then, of course, you would hear the phrase, which is one of my top 10 most hated phrases, he was picked number 1 for a reason. Yeah. The reason was it was a bad class and it was a mistake. So I guess it's true. He was picked number 1 for a reason. Just not the reason they might think it was. So we head into year 2, where undoubtedly Risacher will play more. No question about that. It was very frustrating, I guess, from a fantasy perspective when players went down that Risacher still didn't play much. Post-trade deadline, he got to 188. Like, okay, cool. Is that good? Not really. But I think we should head into this season, unless something weird happens, penciling him in as a 32-minute player, averaging 16 points, 2.2 threes, 5 boards, but assists, my guy. Let's do something. Steals, no. Blocks, no. Efficiency, no. It's all bad. He profiled badly. He profiled poorly coming out of international play. He had so many weird, bad games. I'm not going to say that it's a sell high moment because it's not, because he wasn't very good. And while there will be improvement, I'm very certain about that from Risacher. The overall shape of what he did does not differ really at all to what we saw from him coming out of coming out of Europe. And I'm not excited. He was almost sort of bang on what the expectation should have been, which is fine as like if you were picking pick 10 in this draft with Noah Essenge. It's fine. But we just got to forget that number 1 overall pick, capital that was invested in him. Because as a fantasy player, he does not translate well. Now, people got to have weird development. Imagine he comes in as the 27 usage guy who gets the 60 true shooting, who then becomes a 3.5 assist passing guy, like Jalen Johnson turned into a 5 guy. Sure, but that's like completely unexpected development. So, while Risacher wasn't embarrassing as an NBA player in year 1, he was solid. He wasn't good, he was solid. I'm not really sure how far we go. He's 20, like he's young. Obviously, he's going to improve from here. He's going to play a lot more minutes. He will almost certainly be on my let's take a flyer on this guy in the last rounds list for next season, because getting 7 more minutes, getting percentage bumps, assist rate bumps, all likely to happen. But pushing into the top 100, pushing into the top 70 in 3 years' time, I don't see it. I don't see it. We've got a few more guys that we're going to talk about, including someone that, honestly, I didn't think that we'd be talking about this guy as much as we did. So much so that he ended up with 2 nicknames. The Night Watchman, Mouhamed Gueye. You are Gueye. Gueye started a bunch of games. And at first, I called him the Night Watchman. If you don't know what a Night Watchman is, cricket term for someone who comes in, who's a bad batsman, and comes in just to knock it out at the end of the day when the light is failing. You're just standing there and just don't get out. Protect the good batsman. Because he'd come in, he'd start, he'd play 6 minutes, he wouldn't be seen again. He'd start the second half, he'd play 6 minutes, he wouldn't be seen again. It's like, what are we even doing here? But then an interesting thing happened. We started to get more Gueye. Shout out to Pride Month. He ended up playing 16 minutes a night in year 2. He was 210th post-trade deadline. In 16 minutes, he had 0.8 steals and a block. Hold the phone. 76 from the line. Oh, really? Okay. That's interesting. Now, that directly conflicts with 26% from 3. So one of those is a lie. Can you turn to a 34% three-point shooter? He was a really weird player in Washington State in terms of a guy that didn't really seem to know where he was and would take really, really poor shots. And offensively, he was a mess. But he pulled all that back. Look at that drip delta and Darko delta, 98th percentile and 100th. Yeah, because he did nothing as a rookie. He was useless. I didn't think we'd get anything out of him. And then he came in, like February or whatever it was this year, and started starting games. But hang on a second, we've actually got a rotation player here who can probably play some backup 5, who's an interesting backup behind Jalen Johnson, who flash shooting and defense. And there's that, remember that player that I get infatuated with in drafts a lot, and I'm trying not to do it this season? Asenur, Rashir Fleming, I'm trying not to do it, of the power forward who shoots threes, blocks shots, defends well, rebounds, fills that key gap in rotations. That's exactly what sort of action we got from Gueye this last season. It's useful. Now, he's not going to start on this team. I want to see him do this over a full season. If I'm in a dynasty league, I'm actually intrigued. Because there is the bare bones structure of a solid fantasy guy. He's never going to be an assist guy. But a steals, blocks, threes, points, rebounds player is interesting. It's interesting. And there is room, I guess, like 22nd percentile offensive load, 6th percentile on ball, 16 usage. That can tick up. A bit more confidence in him. Like, he didn't play. He played 33 games. He's not going to be a standard 10, 12, 14 team league guy this season. I don't think that's happening. But enough from him there. Yeah, a lot of it happened in the garbage time portion of the season. But a few little indicators there which definitely get the old brain ticking over. Dome Barlow had opportunities this season, especially when Capello went down. I don't think he fully grabbed what he needed to grab. Barlow was a player that had really strong numbers from USC, then came in and played some G League, two-way stuff with the Spurs. Not USC, what am I talking about? From Overtime Elite. And I thought every time he was on the court for the Spurs, I went, oh yeah, that's interesting. Oh, steals, blocks, efficiency. That's all pretty good. And I thought it all sort of fell apart this season. He's undersized, as is Onyeka Okongwu. The defensive stuff I thought fell off. His impact fell off. The shooting hasn't come around. I still like him as a player to a degree, but I thought he could move into being a backup center. I don't think that anymore. I think best case is third string center. I think he's obviously been surpassed by the Night Watchman in terms of the organizational pecking order as that backup 4-5. And Barlow has the non-guarantee on his deal, which I think he should get brought back. He's still only young. But we're at that stage now, 3 years in NBA systems, where you invest in him, you have development in him, but when the first team lets you go, you come in the second team, you don't do a huge amount. I'm starting to worry that the progression that you hoped would happen based on some of the early indicators, when they haven't happened, well, that faith in those things happening drops. I'm probably not going to fully write someone off until like 24, 25, and they've been 4 or 5 years in the system, and it's still not happening. But some of those early signs haven't moved in the direction that I would have hoped they did. So I'm probably a little bit out here on where Barlow goes. I don't know what to make of the next guy. Kobe Bufkin. I liked Kobe Bufkin in the draft 2 years ago. He was a hybrid combo guard, play some point, and that's really what the Hawks wanted him to do, who took some interesting shots in college and was a pretty strong mid-range guy from memory. Shooting ability, passing ability, very good size. And he just doesn't play. Like, how many shoulder injuries is that now for this guy? Like 3? He was supposed to be the starting point guard on the Summer League team. Hurt his shoulder because they were trying to make him into a full-time point guard. Didn't happen. Came into the season, played 10 games in 12 minutes and out again all year. So what do we even see here? Shot 21% from 3, but it's 120 minutes. I don't know. That's 2 wasted years from, what was he, pick 15 in the draft? I don't think any of the numbers mean anything. He's still only 22. This is it, though, for him. Year 3. If we don't get anything that makes us go, yeah, you're at least a backup, then we're done. Like, it's been an unfortunate start to his career, but you can't go 3 years showing nothing. So far, it's been 2. Injuries have hurt. Being a rookie hurt in his first year. He didn't play. He came in and was expected to be the backup point guard. But an injury stopped that. And then he came in, and then an injury ended that. And it's multiple shoulder problems. It's a massive concern with your shot. It's a huge concern. And you've just missed so much development time trying to move from a combo lead shooting guard type guy who passes into a full point guard. And that's why I said in the earlier show, yesterday's show, about maybe at pick 13, they do grab a Yakuchonis or a Demon or a Fears or a Traore if they're in that spot. I know what's going to happen with Traore, by the way, when he comes into the NBA, and he's going to be called Traore, like he's a brand of shampoo. But I did listen to French pronunciations of his name, and it was Traore. So I'm going to sound dumb, but I'll go with that pronunciation for now until I just get brainwashed into calling him Traore. Anyway, Kobe Bufkin. The future was bright. The future was interesting. The future is pretty murky at the moment. Largely injuries, but also we just haven't seen the flashes either. And that's frustrating, obviously. What I will say, though, with Bufkin is that the guy starting at shooting guard for this team, who was a point guard in the past, Dyson Daniels, his first 2 years, right off. Massive ankle injuries, low minutes, stuck, didn't really blossom. Year 3, exploded. Now, slightly different from Bufkin because Daniels was traded, had an opportunity to take a starting spot, and did. We don't even have this whole suite of G League action from Bufkin to look at. He didn't play at all in the G League this season because, again, he was injured. He was straight into the rotation, injured again. But as a rookie, he attempted 7.5 threes a game in the G League across 14 games and shot 36%. 6 assists per game. 1.4 steals. 83 from the line on 3 attempts. So that's all bloody good. And that is exactly the sort of stuff we saw at Michigan. So he did it at Michigan. He did it at College Park. And he hasn't done it in the NBA. There's been a couple of small, tiny flashes. This is make or break to me. So if I was in a Dynasty League, I would be chucking out a buy low because, yeah, if it's going to hit, we're going to see it this year. We're going to see something. And I would imagine that the value is pretty low. After year one, you're not really going to get those buy low chances. 2 years in, people start to panic. Understandably, I'm panicking. But I'd also be willing to give up very little or give up something to get him in and just see. Because they don't have the backup point guard answer here. Maybe they get it at pick 13, but Quinn Snyder's also probably going to play that guy at pick 13 a lot in the G League, like he did with what happened with Bufkin. So I'd be interested in doing a little bit of a snapperoo. I'm not going to be interested in Jacob Toppin. Old Sloppy here comes across from the Knicks. Two-way guy, Obi's brother. Played 4 minutes a night. And honest, do I need to say anything more? I couldn't think of a less NBA caliber player that's currently in the NBA than Jacob Toppin. As simple as that. He's on the team. He averaged 1 point a game. He had 14 usage. I don't know what to tell you. He's not an NBA player. Apologies to this man. He's a good dunker, and he's got the name value pedigree, but sorry, not happening. See you, Jacob. And that's the end of the Hawks. Again, tomorrow, fingers crossed, we get a 2021 NBA draft redraft show going. Then there'll be more mock drafts the week after, more team reviews, more NBA draft content, a whole bunch of stuff coming up. Guys, you keep up with it by subscribing. You know that. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Go Pacers, go Thunder. See ya.